Our next question this evening is going to regard the Michigan Department of Agriculture. The Department of Agriculture has gone through many cuts to its programs over the past few years and is now to the point where inspectors to inspect Michigan-grown products for sale are not enough to do that, and there's been sales of Michigan-made products that have not been able to be shipped because inspectors weren't there to do that. The question to the folks is, what do you feel should be done to help with that issue? We'll start with Mr. Paul Mezzo.
Reread that for me again. I missed it. I was so satisfied with what I just said.
Well, we'll read it again when the Senate has a chance to respond. Okay?
You called me.
Okay.
You want me to up here or not?
I'm sorry. My mistake. My mistake, sir.
You want to start with Mr.
No,
Smith?
I'm going to start down here again with Mr. Muxlow. Excuse me.
I get the practice here.
Yeah, you get the practice.
It is a lot of fun to go first. As I said earlier, some months ago, I talked to my brother who got a 100% rating. My brother Keith, who served in the legislature, he got a 100% rating from Farm Bureau for the service that he gave and legislation that he introduced for them. And after I was at the annual picnic in Carsonville last fall, I heard the president of Farm Bureau, and I've told this story before, but it's pretty significant, that our legislators were torn between what the Sierra Club wanted and what Farm Bureau wanted. And Farm Bureau, we were told, didn't make enough calls to get support for legislation. And so after listening to that, I talked to my brother and I said, I'm running for state representative. Is there any reason at all that I wouldn't give 100% support to agriculture? So I said, I'll do that, and I'll start every discussion on the side of agriculture. 100% support of agriculture. We'll start there.
Thank you. Now we'll go to Mr. John Hoffman.
Agriculture, of course, everybody in this room knows, and most of the people on the radio knows, is the second biggest industry that we have in Michigan. And to take money away from programs that are generating money just makes absolutely no sense. Some of the program cuts that were made in inspectors were done by budgetary cuts by bureaucrats because they had to get their budget in line. So, but the legislature can allow the departments to keep these money-generating businesses going. So the farmers need all the support they can get for the programs that are generating funds. We also need to make sure that we fund Michigan State University and the Extension Service. There's been some cuts in that, and it affects a lot of people. Farmers rely on the Extension Service for good advice and help when they need it. And they don't need it part-time. They need it full-time, and they need it when they need it. So we shouldn't be cutting those programs that generate money. Let's cut programs that don't generate money.
Next, we'll hear from Mr. Eric Tubbs.
Well, as John said, agriculture is the #2 business in Michigan and possibly pushing to be the #1 business in Michigan. And the last thing we need to do is kill one more business in Michigan. So cutting the ag budget, especially in areas where if you need to have inspectors in order to sell your goods, and then you can't sell your goods, it doesn't make any sense at all. So especially in this district, obviously I support the agriculture business, and I would be against any further cuts if it came to things that were going to hurt the business. We have a lot of threats to the agriculture business. I have said that everything's on the table as far as cuts, but you need to make sensible cuts, and when you're cutting programs on inspectors that you need to get your goods out, it doesn't make any sense.
Next, we'll hear from Mr. Justin Faber.
I'm not working off anybody else's record. I'm working off my own. As I said, back when I was in high school, I was fighting for agriculture and for FFA because I thought it was right for this area. With that said, it is the #2 business in the state. And I think the county commissioners have a good idea when you're 20% under budget, rather than pick and choose which item you're going to do, you allow those department heads to choose rather than taking 50% from one and adding more to another. When the Department of Ag cut the fair budget, I own a food concession business. That hurt my pocketbook because they had to find the money from somewhere. So therefore, I understand what those cuts did and where they're going.
Next, we'll hear from Mr. Al Broughton.
Agriculture and ag business is huge for Sanilac County. I talked to the Farm Bureau state president, and he pointed out to me, as I try to get information more on the farm industry, apples have to be sent out on a Tuesday to be inspected. 2 apple inspectors for the whole state of Michigan. Come on, spend the money where it makes money for agriculture. The Department of Agriculture has to be in charge and get people in there that know the farming business, know the ag business. We need to get our farm industry continue to grow, as that's what's happening to us in Sanilac County. We need people there to support the farmers and agribusiness of Sanilac County. I would be glad to sit on any committee to support ag. I have good contacts with farmers across the county and down in the Port Huron area. I would love that opportunity to learn more about the ag industry. But once again, let people that know what they're doing run the ag department and fund it, because it generates money for the state.
Next, we'll hear from Mr. Alan Lewandowski.
You know, when you cut money from some source that is actually making the state money, it just seems like nonsense. You wouldn't do that to the auto industry in Detroit. You wouldn't take OSHA inspectors away from them so they couldn't put cars out. But you look at Michigan with I think there's a little over 56,000 farms in Michigan. There's like 500 food processing plants and maybe 300 mom and pop food processing plants. That food has to get there in a certain amount of time for them to make their money. And I said, it just seems like it's backward business when you're saying, okay, we're only going to have, like I said, 2 apple inspectors for the whole state of Michigan. Where I know in just this area alone, we have quite a few apple growers where 2 inspectors could probably spend quite a bit of time between St. Clair County and Sanilac County inspecting apples. But I think as a state legislator, I would definitely fund the agricultural department the way it needed to be, to make sure that the farmers could get their product out to market and make their living that they're trying to do.
Next, we'll hear from Mr. Kirkdale.
The last time I looked at the 83rd district, from the tip of up there in the northern part of Sanilac County all the way to Port Huron, it's all farmland. Now, why would any representative from the 83rd district not support agriculture? Absolutely.
Now we'll hear from Mr. Ed Smith.
The 2 parts of that 83rd district, Sanilac County has over 1,000 square miles, has 50% of the voters. St. Clair County has about 300 square miles, has the other 50% of the voters. Sanilac County is home to agriculture. We need to restore the budget to the Department of Agriculture to restore the amount of inspectors. Our farmers need to get their goods delivered on a timely basis, and there's a time frame, there's a cutoff time before these goods become perishable. So not only some of the candidates said no further cuts, I would actually restore the budget back to the Department of Agriculture. Thank you.